As thousands of nurses are joining together for a day of protest to shed light on the working conditions inside private hospitals all across New York City.
So the nurses union says there's not enough staff to give the patients the care that they need, but the organizations that run the hospitals don't agree.
So in a statement, the New York City Hospital Alliance says the reality is that the union's rigid mandated staffing ratios would lower the quality of patient care. We support a patient-first approach to staffing that is built on tailored, flexible staffing plans designed by experienced nurses that have proven to meet best and individual and ever-changing needs of patients.
All right, joining us now, two nurses, Anthony Ciampa, first Vice President of the New York State Nurses Association, and Robin Krinsky, Director-at-Large at the New York State Nurses Association. Anthony works at New York Presbyterian Hospital, Robin at Mount Sinai Hospital. So tell me how this protest works today. Are we going to see a lot of people outside these hospitals?
Yes, absolutely. We are across 13 hospitals. We have 15,000 registered nurses, and we're all going outside today to talk to our community and let them know that we need better staffing.
But you're not going to empty the hospitals, are you? Are there going to be nurses inside?
No, yes.
Okay.
We're going to have nurses on the inside. Everybody coming out. It's going to be on our own time during our breaks and our days off.
So it's not a strike?
No,
Right.
It's an informational picket. It's to sound the alarm to all of New York that we are understaffed, and we want to be able to have enough nurses to provide quality of care to all of our patients. So we want to alert the community, the politicians, other healthcare providers that this is occurring.
How's it affecting you personally, and how's it affecting patients?
So there's always the potential of harm to come to a patient when they don't have enough nursing care. So how it affects me on a personal basis, on an everyday basis, is that we have to make these very difficult choices. We have just so many nurses to provide a tremendous amount of care. Patients are sicker, acuity is increasing, people are living longer, so they have the time in their life to develop these diseases. Technology is increasing. We need to learn all of these machines with all of these whistles, and we must have the right people educated and at the bedside. And unfortunately, the hospitals are not providing us with enough people to do that.
Anthony, personally, has there ever been a time that you've been in the hospital where, like, you really felt like, oh my goodness, I can't do this, like I'm running from one room to another and somebody is going to fall through the cracks?
There's so many times. I think that's the fear of every nurse that's working when we're working short-staffed. Like Robin said, we're forced to make really difficult decisions.
Like, what decision do you make?
So, for example, I remember having a patient, an elderly woman, what a sweet woman, and she needed full assist to eat. And I had to make a decision whether to provide critical care for an urgent case and hang blood, or make the decision to help her eat. And of course, I had to treat the most urgent situation first, and no nurse should be forced to make decisions like that. We need to be able to provide quality care on all levels to all of our patients.
Well, if we talk about the ratio, at one time, was the ratio even? And this is now just kind of like a sign of the times that there's less personnel staff there, or what's causing this?
I found it interesting what the hospital said about the ratios being rigid, because the hospitals already have rigid ratios, but they're a minimum number that they don't seem to want to staff above. So what we want to do is have conversations with the hospitals now that our contracts are up, because we feel that this is the best time that we have to improve our staffing.
Is this a money thing?
It's a money thing. It all comes down to money. There's a pot of money.
So the hospital's not making money, and that's why, you know...
The hospital is making plenty of money, and if they're telling you that they're not, then they're not telling you the truth.
Right.
There is money out there, and they need to allocate that for nursing care. Nursing is a product of the hospital, and they need to invest in their nurses, and they need to invest in their patients. They can't afford not to, because if they don't invest in nursing and they don't increase our staffing, then patients will be harmed. There is the potential there for people to become sicker, acquire infection.
That's right.
And pressure ulcers, and we don't want to see anyone have that.
What we're saying is put patients before profits.
I mean, Rosanna's aunt was a nurse. My grandma was a nurse. We understand what you all do. I mean, you're really the front line when it comes to the patient before the doctor, you know, is able to walk in and be the knight in shining armor, that you're there in the battlefield. So is it possible that if this day of protest doesn't work, that you would go on strike? Is that even in the cards?
So
It's in the cards, but we don't want to go on strike. We want to wake up New York. We want to sound the alarm and let everybody know that this is occurring, and come to the negotiation table and negotiate with us fairly. We want a fair contract that will provide the care, the personnel, and the resources for our patients, for all New Yorkers. So we hope that this will wake them up, sound the alarm, and we can get into a real negotiation instead of what we're doing now.
How many hospitals is this affecting today?
I believe it affects all hospitals, whether we represent them or not. I think.
So what are you, private hospitals?
We're private sector hospitals.
And that's what, 14 across the 5 boroughs today?
We have 14 across the 5 boroughs on the line today.
Are these the
15,000
same problems,
nurses.
though, also in public hospitals?
Yes.
Do they mirror each other?
Yes. Staffing is an issue across the board, across the state. So we, although we represent over 30,000 registered nurses in New York State, we believe that we speak for all the nurses when we say safe staffing is a critical issue.
The same things that are happening here in New York City are happening upstate. They're happening on Long Island. It's not any different. It's really not any different in many of the states. California is the only state in the country that has staffing ratios in their law. And that's something that we want to do.
Okay, so how can we help? What, you know, you coming on today, what do you hope happens?
Let everybody know we need safe staffing. Come out, join us on the line, call the hospital executives, tell them that our communities do not deserve to be shortchanged. We need safe staffing, and we need it now.
Your politicians, call them. Tell them to vote yes on safe staffing legislation, and then we can change it for the entire state, not just our hospitals.
Robin and Anthony, thank you so much for being here. We appreciate it, and good luck today.
Thank you
so
for
much.
having us.
All right. Much more ahead. Coming right back. Stay with us.